between the armies so that he can see who is here to fight.
Correct.
So that's what is the real platform is now beginning up, right?
Correct.
And उसके बाद I think I'm just looking. So it is, I think, it is very clear that Duryodhana, uh, like Dhritarashtra,
Yeah.
so Duryodhana has a obviously plan, and Duryodhana was confident with the Bhishma, Dronacharya in his side. He was confident, and his intention was to that he was sure that he will win this battle, right?
Yeah.
And and now Arjuna came in the front, and he wanted to see who else is here to, for this battle.
Mm.
Uh, so Krishna followed his instruction, Arjuna's instruction, and took the chariot into middle of this armies, where the both armies are standing in front of each other.
Correct.
And here, I think in one of the shloka number 24, Gudakesha word was used. Gudakesha is somebody who has win over sleep. I think
Correct.
you gave an example and story about like Bhima was one time eating the food,
Yeah.
and the light went, basically the lamp. So Arjuna asked Bhima, "How come you are still eating without any problem?" Bhima said, "This is the activity I love, eating, and I'm perfectly fine even there is a light or not."
Yeah.
So Arjuna, it is clicked to him. Then Arjuna also started practicing in the night. That's where he conquered sleep, and his
Yeah.
name was Gudakesha. And
Yeah.
Bhagavan Krishna, his name is also called as Rishikesha, who is the master of all the senses. What was used in 24.
Yeah. There
Oh,
was a reference to Krishna's name as Achyuta. Do you want
Achyutam,
to
yes.
elaborate on that?
Achyutam, as far I remember, who cannot Achyutam
Somebody
was
who does not fall down from his position.
position. Yeah, he is infallible. I think that's what it
Ah,
means, right,
yeah.
Prabhu?
Yes, correct.
Infallible. Yeah, yeah.
And what does it mean actually, infallible?
Infallible means, Prabhu, he's always remain in that position, right?
Yeah.
He's
Like
always
he is a
situated in
supreme. He is a
supreme,
supreme, and he remains supreme, irrespective of
supreme.
what he does.
Right, right.
So we took that example of Damodar Lila also. So whether he eats mud or
Yeah,
the Yashoda Mata takes a stick and tries to run behind him, wanting to beat him, or he kills
correct.
various demons, or he dances with gopis, or he gives Bhagavad Gita knowledge, or he goes around Vrindavan with his friends. Whatever he does, he being the supreme, whatever his actions are uh, are can never fall down. He can never fall down from that position of being supreme. And the same
Yes, Prabhu.
concept
Yeah.
applies here, that despite being a charioteer, we took that kind of the context also. We tried to understand what does it mean by being a charioteer of somebody. So since the kings would be very busy fighting the war, so I've started my camera or no?
1 minute. No, Prabhu. Still not, I
No?
think.
Okay,
No, no.
let me check. Okay. Um, yeah, so the kings, when they want to communicate with the charioteer, they used to kick the charioteer meaning by their legs on the either side of their body. If they want to go
Mm-hmm.
right, they will kick on the right
You will.
side. If they want to go
Correct.
left, they will kick on the left side. So,
Okay.
despite knowing how the kings are required to behave, whether they do it purposefully or not is different, but are required to behave with the charioteer, Krishna accepted the position of becoming a charioteer to Arjun. So Arjun is
Yeah.
telling that just because I am giving you an instruction here now and making you do what I want you to do does not mean that you have become subordinate to me. You are achyuta, you are infallible, and you will constantly remain infallible irrespective of what I tell you or what you accept as an instruction from me. So that's why it is very important to understand Bhagavad Gita word by word, because there are these. Oh, मैं आपको म्यूट करता हूँ प्रभु आपको.
Yeah, Prabhu. Sorry, man.
So it's very important to understand the context, the thought process, the mindset behind a particular verse, behind a particular word of what Krishna wanted to speak or what Sanjay or Arjun or Dhritarashtra wanted to speak. So, like when we buy a book, a novel written by an author, so we try to understand the mentality of the author when he is writing the book, because of which we understand the book in a better manner. So similarly, we have to understand this Bhagavad Gita by studying the mentality of the speaker. What does Krishna want from us? Yeah, especially Bhagavad Gita, the first few chapters, they talk about the Karma Yoga and Gyan Yoga and Dhyan Yoga and all that. But does Krishna want us to follow that? No, he does not want us to follow that. That is why he is talking about the intricacies of these yoga systems and the complexity of the yoga system and the difficulties in the following the yoga system. And that is where he talks in the sixth chapter at the end that Bhakti Yoga is supreme and better than every other yoga system. And that is where he talks about the Bhakti Yoga from chapter 7 to chapter 12. And that is the reason why in 18th chapter he gives the supreme instruction. So I constantly speak about this particular point, and which is very, very important to understand that majority of the people, they try to start learning Bhagavad Gita, but give it halfway. Maximum second, third, fourth, fifth chapter, they will learn until then, and then they give up. But because of this, they understand, they think that the only teaching of Bhagavad Gita is karma kar phal ki chinta mat kar. Do your work, do not worry about the result. But that is not the instruction that Krishna wants us to take back. The supreme instruction that Krishna wants us to take back is in 18th chapters, verse number 65 and 66. And that he confirms. Let me just open that for you. Are you able to see the screen, everybody? You can look at
Yes,
chapter.
Prabhu.
हाँ, Mataji, if you have Bhagavad Gita, so verse number 64 देखो, chapter 18 का. Okay. So the translation goes, because you are my very dear friend, I am speaking to you my supreme instruction. See, that is what he is now saying, that all that I have spoken to you is subordinate to what I am about to speak to you. I am speaking to you my supreme instruction, the most confidential knowledge of all. Hear this from me, for it is for your benefit. Which is the confirming fact that any and every instruction of Bhagavad Gita is subordinate to the instruction that he is about to speak. And these are the two instructions, verse number 65 and 65, that he speaks about. Always think of me, become my devotee, worship me, and offer your homage unto me. Thus you will come to me without fail. I promise you this because you are my very dear friend. Abandon all varieties of religion and just surrender unto me. Mam ekam sharanam raja. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. Yeah. Now, when we see this instruction and then now compare with what is there in the second, third, fourth, fifth chapter, then we will understand that they are only stepping stones towards our spiritual journey. But actual journey starts from Bhagavad Gita. Whereas the pinnacle of Bhakti Yoga also is the highest form, which is what is mentioned in 65 and 66. We diverted a little bit, but that will give you what is there as the supreme instruction in Bhagavad Gita. So anybody, any question so far? Okay, there was also one more point. Uh, Bhishma Drona Pramuktaha is the word used by Sanjay. O descendant of Bharat, having thus been addressed by Arjun, Lord Krishna drew up the fine chariot in the midst of armies of both parties, right? Now he says, in the presence of Bhishma, Drona and other chieftains of the world. Okay, very important point that Lord Krishna, if he wanted, he could have brought the chariot in front of Duryodhan, Dushasan, Karna kind of people. But he didn't do that. He purposely brought it in front of Bhishma and Drona. Purposely brought it so that Arjun feels very overcome by emotions. How can he fight? He doesn't want to fight. And how can he fight and kill people like Bhishma and Drona? So that he voices out his concerns, arguments, and questions. And Krishna gets a chance to speak Bhagavad Gita, which is one of the three factors for which he uh, comes down to earth. Yada yada hi dharmasya glanir bharata abhyuthanam adharmasya tadatmanam srujamyaham paritranaya sadhunam, that is protection of the saintly people, vinashaya cha dushkrutam, to kill the uh, impious people, sinful people, and dharma samsthapanartha, to re-establish the principles of religion. These are the three primary factors he comes. There are some additional factors which when we study Bhagavatam we will understand. Any question so far? Mataji, Mangal Mataji, you have any question?
No, no, no. As of now, no.
Okay, fine.
So Prabhuji, just to understand the point you mentioned, we will pass through Karam Yoga for every path which Krishna will explain to Arjuna, but ultimate objective is 18.64 and 65. Right, Prabhu?
Exactly. Yes, exactly, exactly. Because they say na, that if it is Krishna's order and if you follow that order, then it doesn't matter what you are doing. But if it is against Krishna's order, then even if you are following the scriptures and all, it is still of no use because Krishna doesn't want you to do that. So that's why abandon all varieties of religion carries that extraordinary importance. And the
Yes.
important point to notice, he says, Mam Ekam Sharanam Braja. He is not saying gives a surrender to various people. He's saying only to me, no one else. And we will see the reason why he is saying that over the period of the whole of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so today we will do 7 verses from 28 till 35. Now, what we need to understand of these verses is verse number 28. It starts with Arjun speaking. What is he going to speak? Now that the chariot is in between both the armies, Arjun is now overcome by emotions, compassion, and various factors. And he is now going to present 4 arguments why he does not want to fight or why he should not fight. Okay, 4 arguments. In the second chapter, he presents his 5th argument. So totally Arjun presents 5 arguments, 4 of which are there from verse number 28 until 45 in the first chapter. The last verse, 46th verse, is spoken by Sanjay, which expresses Arjuna's feelings and bodily physical aspects. And the 5th argument comes in the second chapter in verse 6 and 7. In the verse number 28 till verse number 30, Arjun talks about his first argument. Okay. And from verse 31 till 35, Arjun talks about his second argument. So we are going to see first and second argument today. So let's read the verse together. You can unmute yourself. Arjuna Uvacha
Arjuna Uvacha
Uvacha
Drishtveman Swajanam Krishna
Drishtvevam
Drishve
Swajanam Krishna
Krishna
Yuyutsum Samupasthitam
Yuyut
Yuyutsum Samupasthitam
Sidanti Mama Gatrani
Siddham
Sidanti Mam
Mama
Gatrani
Mukham Cha Parishushati.
Mukham
Mukam
Cha Parishushyati.
Anybody wants to chant again?
Yes, Prabhu, I will try.
Yeah, please.
Arjun Uvacha दृष्टैवमं स्वजनं कृष्ण युयुत्समं समुपस्थितं सीदन्ति मम गात्राणि मुखं च परिशुष्यति.
Yeah. So let's read the translation. Prabhu, you want to read the translation?
Yes, Prabhuji. Arjuna said, "My dear Krishna, seeing my friends and relatives present before me in such a fighting spirit, I feel the limbs of my body quivering and my mouth drying up."
Yeah. So Arjuna Uvacha. Now this is the first verse where Arjun starts expressing his concerns, his arguments, why he does not want to fight. Uvacha meaning said. Arjuna meaning Arjun said. Drushtve mam swajanam Krishna. Swajanam meaning my relatives. What, oh Krishna, what has happened? Drushtve mam. After seeing all of these, what has happened? Yuyutsum samupasthitam. Samupasthitam meaning they have gathered together to yuyutsum, that is to fight. Okay. Siddhanti mama gatrani. Okay. So Siddhanti is a kind of a bodily expression that is quivering, we call it. Yes. And mama meaning my, gatrani meaning limbs of the body. So my limbs of the body are quivering. And mukham cha parishushyati. Parishushyati meaning it is drying up. My mouth is drying up. So here you can see Arjun has expressed two symptoms of the body. So over a period of these few verses and one or two verses in the second chapter also, Arjun expresses 8 different bodily symptoms. Okay. And of these, the two are mentioned here in this particular verse. Now, this all these arguments, the 4 arguments, they have a context. What Arjun is speaking. So now the first reason is compassion. Yeah. Please remember all this. This is very important to understand. When you study a book, if you do not know what that book is all about, then you may not understand the book at all. Yeah. Or if let's say you are reading an answer paper, but you do not know what the question is, then still you will not get the context of the answer. So to understand the context of Bhagavad Gita, as especially the second chapter until the verse number 37, it is very much important to understand these 4 arguments of Arjun. Okay, so the first argument is compassion. Please remember this one. So this argument that he is putting up in this verse, verse number 29 and verse number 30, is refuted by the Lord in verses 11 uh, from 11 to 30 in the second chapter. You do not need to remember this technically, but it is important to understand that there is a refutation of each and every argument in certain verses over a period of over the next few chapters. So what has happened now? We are able to see the qualities of Arjun here. Yeah. So it is over a period of many verses, many chapters of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about various qualities of a pious person, of a devotee, and the behavior also of such a person. Especially the 12th chapter talks about 26 qualities of a devotee. So one of the quality is he is compassionate. He is very soft-hearted, and these qualities develop as you do more and more pure devotional service to the Lord. And it is not so difficult to understand, right? When you see a person who, let's say, a person who is working in a factory which is producing, non-veg products. So imagine a situation wherein day in and day out you are required to kill animals on a all hundreds of animals are being killed. You are required to kill on a daily basis. So how would the person react when he sees blood? Yeah, or when he sees some person killing some another person on the street, imagine the hard-hearted nature that this person will have. Yeah. Because he has seen so many animals getting killed on a daily basis, he does not find anything, disturbing when he sees a person getting killed. So that is that hard-hearted nature one automatically develops because of performing sinful activities. Now, Arjun, being a pure devotee of Krishna, he had all these qualities of being compassionate, being soft hearted, and a similar kind of godly qualities. And because of these godly qualities, this thought started coming to him that I'm now there will be a war. I will be required to kill my own relatives. So that's why this compassion started getting generated in his heart. And what was the cause of this compassion? He realizes that the war is going to be brutal, it will be very ghastly, and it will destroy the whole dynasty, multiple generations of dynasties. And that's why his heart was shaken, his heart was shattered, and that impact of the whole of this, it started sinking in his mind, and he felt distress, and hence he was overwhelmed with emotion. So one very important point which we spoke last time as well, that Arjun's compassion does not indicate cowardice. Arjun was not a coward. And this confirmation is given by none other than Sanjay, who was Dhritarashtra's chief chief assistant. Yeah. So Sanjay, being on the side of Kauravas, he did not give a wrong character was not painted by Arjun. He gave the correct word he was used, which was kripaya, meaning overwhelmed with compassion. And compassion and cowardice are completely different. I'll move on to the next verse. In case you have any question, please feel free to interrupt me at any point of time. So text
Yes,
29.
Prabhuji, we can move. Yeah, yeah.
So verse 29, you can all unmute. Ve pathuscha sharire me
वे
वे
पतश्च
पुत्र शरीरे में
शरीरे
ro-
में
romaharshascha jayate
रोमहर्षश्च जायते
gandivam srausate hastat
गाण्डीवं
गाण्डीवं सर्मस्ते हस्तात्
vakchaiva paridahyate.
त्वक्चैव परिदह्यते.
Okay, let's read the translation. Who's reading?
Okay, I'll read.
Yeah, please.
My whole body is trembling. My hair is standing on end. My bow, Gandiva, is slipping from my hand, and my skin is burning.
Okay, thank you. Now, in the previous verse, he had talking about the limbs of the body quivering and the mouth drying up. Now, in this verse, hair standing on its end and skin burning. These are the two other bodily characteristics he has mentioned. Gandivam Snausate Hasta is a product of these reactions. That is the slipping of the Gandivam. That is the product of these reactions. Right? Now, let's look at. So, why Gandiva slipping from the hand is so significant? Yeah, so let's say we are walking or we are working in the kitchen or in let's say we are driving a car or something like that. Something falling from our hand, we don't consider that to be so significant, yeah, unless it breaks something and the damage is very costly. But otherwise, let's say I have a steel glass in my hand, and while drinking water, the glass falls down. How does it become such a significant incident that a person like Sanjay has to mention that in Bhagavad Gita? So what had happened was, uh, Arjun had taken a vow to kill anyone who even suggested him that he should put down his Gandiv bow, meaning to indicate that neither you are a strong warrior, nor this Gandiv bow is of any kind of use. So Arjun had taken a vow that he will kill whoever says that. So by killing, he actually intends to say that he is the supreme. Because when will somebody tell Arjun that you are not fit to hold the Gandhi bow? When that other person thinks that he is stronger and a better archer than Arjun. But Arjun knew that he is the best archer. That's why he had taken a vow that he will kill anybody. And there was an impact of this particular vow in the war. On the 17th day, meaning we are going one step further than what is the current situation in Bhagavad Gita. But on the 17th day, Karna fought Yudhishthir 1-1, and the fighting was on the using bows and arrows. So Karna defeated and severely injured Yudhishthir. But because Karna had given a promise to Kunti that he will ensure that 5 Pandavas will remain alive, and he also says that either it will be Arjun or Karna himself. That's why he had decided not to kill Yudhishthir, Bhim, Nakul, and Sahadev. That's why Karna did not kill Yudhishthir at that time. But then Karna taunted Yudhishthir, saying, meaning he said a lot of things, that you are not even a Kshatriya, you do not know how to fight, see how easily I defeated you and all that. So for a Kshatriya, it is difficult to tolerate such insults. But Yudhishthir's charioteer, then he took the chariot away, and because Yudhishthir was badly injured, he brought it to the camp so that proper medication can be done. When this news spread and when Arjun came to know, Arjun immediately reached to the camp and Yudhishthir's tent to inquire about his health. Now, the moment Yudhishthir saw Arjun, he asked him, "Did you kill Karna and avenge my insult?" So he said, "No, I have not, because I came to know that you are injured. That's why I came here to inquire about you." So Yudhishthir became angry, which he generally doesn't become. So Yudhishthir, then you have left the battlefield even without killing Karna. How could you have done this? It is better that you give up your Gandiv bow. This is what he said. And then Arjun became furious. And Arjun said that how can you speak like this one? That I give up my Gandiv bow. I have vowed to kill anybody, he says. And Arjun, meaning took out his sword to kill Yudhishthir. And Krishna was smiling and watching from a little distance. And then Krishna ran up to Arjun and he held his hand. And he said, "This is not what you are required to do." But then Arjun told him, "But I have taken a vow." He said, "Yeah, if you have to kill Yudhishthir, yeah, you can kill him by insulting him. For a Kshatriya, an insult is worse than death." So then, how to insult Yudhishthir? Then Krishna told him, "You can speak all the bad things that you have in mind about Yudhishthir." Then Arjun spoke a lot of things, including Draupadi Vastraharan and the gambling match and so many things. Now, Arjun realized that he has made a grave mistake by insulting Yudhishthir, his elder brother, who is like God to him. So then Arjun said that I now should kill myself because I have made such a meaning unforgivable mistake. Then he wanted to kill himself. Krishna again came in between and told him, "No, if you want to kill yourself, Shastra allows you to kill by speaking or by praising your own self, by appreciating your own self. It is like killing your own self." Then Arjun started appreciating his himself, stating that he is the best archer, he's this, is that, and all that. So that way, the vow was also kept, and that there was no loss as well by Arjun taking a drastic step. So Krishna has protected Pandavas at every different step, and ensured that they remain on the path of dharma, and they get their dues as well. Okay, now let's move on to the verse number 30. Any question around until verse 29?
No,
No?
Prabhuji, just it's about the importance of Gandiva, I think. How much important for him, Gandiva, right? Arjuna.
Yes. Yeah.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Okay. So verse number 30. Nacha shaknomyavasthatum
न च शक्नोमि अवस्थातुम्
ramativa cha me manah
रमतीव च मे मनः
nimittani cha pashyami
निमित्तानि च पश्यामि
viparitani keshava.
विपरीतानि केशव.
Translation.
I am now unable to stand here any longer. I am forgetting myself and my mind is reeling. I see only cause of
Misfortune.
misfortune, O Krishna, killer of the Keshi demon.
So, nimittani viparitani. Okay, there are two words which are significant in this particular verse to understand. So, what Prabhupada mentions is when a man sees only frustration in his expectation, he thinks, why am I here? So, when we go to a friend's place and nobody looks at us, if somebody speaks, they speak in an insulting manner, and then we feel that, why am I here? Why am I here to, get insulted by others? Right? So that kind of situation, or similar kind of situation Arjun was in. He was not getting insulted, but he was feeling that this is not the place where I want to be, because if I am here, I will need to kill my own relatives. Now, Prabhupada writes further, everyone is interested in himself and his welfare. No one is interested in the supreme self. Arjun, because he is taking up the role of a common person like you and me, only to teach people like you and me, Arjun is showing ignorance of his real self-interest, that is Krishna's will. So once real self-interest lies in Vishnu or Krishna, a conditioned soul forgets this and therefore he suffers material pains. Arjun thought that his victory in the battle would only be a cause of lamentation for him. Very important points to understand. As we go further in Bhagavad Gita, things will become a bit clear. Now, what is he doing, Arjun? Arjun continues to express his bodily symptoms as a meaning your supportive argument, or supporting facts against his argument for not fighting. So, material compassion towards friends and relatives, that is his kind of the first argument. Right? Now, Arjun, nimittani. Okay, nimittani means basically uh, kind of the what do you say? Uh, I'm sorry.
कारण
The
जो
the
होता है.
the factors which cause something, a nimitta, basically. Okay. So, what is caused by some event, that becomes the nimitta. And viparitani meaning opposite, viparit. Okay. So he is saying what I expected to happen, compared to that, everything is opposite. And whatever I am seeing as a factors of the war, or factors or events, basically, they are completely opposite of my expectation. So he thought he will fight, he will kill maybe, and then maybe he will get the kingdom. But he's saying I can only see causes of misfortune. And what that misfortune is, he will express that subsequently in the other remaining verses. And Arjun understands that, whatever he is trying to avoid, like not fighting in the war, it will still happen. but he is unable to see any personal benefit from the battle. His reasoning, his arguments that he is given has a lot of faults. And these are the common faults which people like you and me also do on a regular basis, because we consider ourselves to be the body, and everything around the body we consider to be ours. Whereas we forget that we are a soul, we are not the body. So we ignore whatever is related to the soul and we accept everything that is related to the body. And that is precisely the fault in Arjuna's argument, and which Krishna will talk about it. So again, he is using the word pashyami, meaning I am seeing causes of misfortune. That is because he is seeing from a conditioned eyes. He is seeing it from a ordinary perspective. He is not seeing from the perspective of the Supreme Lord. He is not taking the events that are happening as the will of the Lord. He is thinking that this is like a kind of a misfortune that has come up on the Pandavas and Kauravas, that they are required to fight now. So again, the perspective is from the body perspective. And that is precisely where Bhagavad Gita will help Arjun and people like us also. That our perspective will be changed by Krishna, and we will be able to see the events and our purpose of life and who we are, that we are the soul, we are not the body, that we will be able to see in a better manner. Okay. So in a summary, let's look at the symptoms that he has mentioned. So in 1.21, he mentions Sidantimam Gatrani, which means the limbs of the body are trembling, quivering. Mukham cha parishushati, mouth is drying up. 29, he mentions Vepathuscha Sharire me, whole body is trembling. Roma Harshascha Jayate, hair is standing on its end. Gandivam Srausate Hastad, Gandiv bow is slipping from my hand. Twakchaiva paridahyate, skin is burning. And in 30, in this verse, he says, Nacha shaknome vastatum, legs are unable to stand any longer. Okay. Brahmati vacha me manaha, forgetting myself and because of weakness of heart. And nimittani cha pashyami viparitani, he says. Okay. So he's only seeing causes of misfortune. So this is the first argument that he has spoken, that is the compassion, material, bodily compassion for the friends and relatives. Okay. So let's move on to the second argument, verse number 31. Okay. Nacha shreyo nupashyami
न च श्रेयोनुपश्यामि
hatva swajanamahave
हत्वा स्वजनम् अहवहे
Atave
na kangshe vijayam krishna
na kankhe
नाकाङ्क्षे विजयं कृष्ण
tacha rajyam sukhani cha.
न च राज्यं सुखानि च.
Translation.
Okay. I don't see how any good can come from killing my own kinsmen in this battle, nor can I, my dear Krishna, desire any subsequent victory, kingdom, or happiness.
So now this verse marks the start of his second argument. This second argument is loss of enjoyment. Okay, very important to understand. Now look at his how any good can come. Okay, so you will see Arjun is increasing the gravity of his arguments. Okay, at the lowest level, it was like compassion, meaning I feel bad for doing whatever I'm doing. Compassion. Then he says, okay, it is bad, I understand. But even if I force to do it, I don't see any enjoyment, any benefit over there. Which means you are forcing me to do something wrong, and that wrong is not giving me any enjoyment also. So why am I supposed to do it? And he takes that to the higher level to say that the third, which is the third argument, which is sinful reactions, which means you imagine put in a situation or being put in a situation that you know what you are doing is wrong, but you are forced to do it. On top of that one, that whatever you are doing will not give you any benefit. No enjoyment is there. On top of that one, you know what you are doing is sinful. तो मतलब सिंफुल भी है, बेनिफिट भी नहीं है, एंड फिर भी फोर्स किया हुआ है किसी ने, तो हाउ विल यू फील? दैट इज द स्टेट अर्जुन इज इन राइट नाउ. Okay, so he is saying no good can come. Okay, no good meaning I would basically kill my own relatives, and when I get the kingdom, I would have already suffered heavy losses, losses from the perspective of losing my family members and relatives. Then what's the benefit of getting all of this? So that is his concern. Now, he Arjun does not give more weightage to the kingdom, but he gives more weightage to the his own people. Look at the difference between the mentality of Arjun and Duryodhan. Duryodhan wanted the kingdom at the cost of, and was ready to pay the cost of the life of his family members. And for that, he was ready to, insult Draupadi, uh, evict Pandavas from Hastinapur, and so many things he did. At the cost of getting the kingdom, he was ready to give up anything and everything. And look at Arjun here. He is saying, forget, forget avenging the actions of Duryodhan, avenging the insults and everything. He is saying, even if I get the kingdom, it will not be worth it, because it will come at the cost of my family members and relatives. So such a big difference between his thought process and Duryodhan's thought process. Now let's look at one particular word. Shreya is a word used by Arjun here. Shreya means good. Now there are two types of good activities. One is a short-term good and one is a long-term good. Okay, so Shreya actually means long-term good. And then there is another word called as Preya, which is called as short-term good. Now the problem with Arjuna's thought process here is he considers getting a kingdom as a long-term good, whereas he doesn't understand that getting that kingdom is just short-term good. Long-term good is far different. He considers getting that kingdom as a long-term good, and that is what he is saying, that even if I get it, it doesn't help me anyway, because I'm going to kill my family members and relatives. How good is this good if it comes at the cost of my family members? So his perspective of long term is not long enough. It is long only in terms of the body, not in terms of the soul. He is unable to think beyond the current body. That's why he thinks whatever is coming little later in the current life is long term. Whereas whatever is applicable for this body is short term, actually. Okay, now next four verses are together. So it may take a few moments to chant, but let's try. Verses 32 till 35. Okay. Kimno Rajyena Govinda.
Kim no Rajena Govinda.
Kim Bhogai Jivitena Va.
Kim Bhogair Jivitena Va.
Yesham Arthe Kankshitam No.
Yesham Arthe Kankshitam No.
Rajyam Bhogaha Sukhani Cha.
Rajyam Bhoga Sukhani Cha.
Ta ime vasthita yuddhe.
Ta ime avasthita yuddhe.
Pranans tyaktva dhanani cha.
Pranam Styaktva Dhanani Cha.
Acharyah pitarah putras.
Acharya Pitara Putras.
तथैव च पितामहः.
Tathaiva Cha Pitamaha.
मातुलः श्वशुरः पौत्रा.
Matula Shashura Putra.
शालाः सम्बन्धिनस्तथा.
Shala
शाला संविदनस्तथा
एतान्न हन्तुमिच्छामि
एतान्न हन्तुमिच्छामि
ततोऽपि मधुसूदन
नातोऽपि मधुसूदन
अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य
api
अपि त्रैलोक्यराज्यस्य
हेतोः किं नु महि कृते
हेतो
itu
किं नु महि कृते
निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्रान्नः
nihat
निहत्य धार्तराष्ट्रान्नः
का प्रीतिः स्याज्जनार्दन
kami
प्रीतिः स्यात् जनार्दनः
ट्रांसलेशन
Translation. O Govinda, of what
सॉरी
avail to us are a kingdom,
सॉरी
happiness. O Govinda, of what avail to us are a kingdom, happiness, or even life itself when all those for whom we may desire them are now arrayed on this battlefield? O Madhusudana, when teachers, fathers, sons, grandfathers, maternal uncles, father-in-law, grandsons, brothers-in-law, and other relatives are ready to give up their lives and properties and are standing before me, why should I wish to kill them? Even though they might otherwise me, kill me, O maintainer of all living entities. I am not prepared to fight with them, even in exchange for the three worlds, let alone this earth. What pleasure will we derive from killing the sons of Dhritarashtra?
थैंक यू प्रभु So Arjun continues with his argument, yeah, with his reasoning for his second argument, which is what is the name of the second argument? नहीं अभी हम लोग ने बात किया.
loss of his enjoyment.
Yes, exactly. So loss of enjoyment is the second argument, and he continues, right? So he is saying, Kim no Rajyena Govinda. What is the use of this kingdom, O Govinda? Kim bhogair jivitena va. Meaning, even if I get that, what is the use of this enjoyment? And jivitena va, in general life itself, what is the use of that? Why? Because yesham arthe kangshitam no. Because for the sake of desiring, we meaning for the sake of somebody, we desire something, and rajyam bhoga sukhanicha, the kingdom and the material enjoyment and all happiness, all these what we desire for those whose sake, for those sake, or for those people, they are actually in front of me. They are situated here on this battlefield. Ta ime vasthita yuddhe. They are situated here on this battlefield for the sake of yuddhe, fighting. Okay. Pranans tektva dhananicha. They are ready to give up their own life, forget their wealth. And he's saying for these people, for the sake of these people, we are desiring this kingdom and all that. It is actually of no use to me because I will be losing these people. And who are these people? So Acharya, Pitaraha, Putraha, teachers, Pitaraha meaning the fatherly people, Putra meaning sons and that generation. Tathaivacha Pitamaha, meaning not just Bhishma Pitamaha, but other grandfathers also who are present. Matula, meaning maternal uncles. Shwashura, meaning father-in-law. And Pautra, that is grandsons. Shala Sambandhinastatha, brother-in-law, and various other relatives. I do not wish to kill them. Etan nahantum ichhami gnatopi madhusudana. I do not wish to kill them. Even Gnatopi, even if they want to kill me or even if they kill me, O Madhusudan, I do not want to kill them. Okay, this is his primary argument. Now he takes it from the perspective of the kingdom also. Until whatever now he spoke was about people. Now it is about kingdom. And not just current kingdom. He says, Api Trailokya Rajyasi, meaning even if I were to get the three worlds, that means Prithvi, Swarga, meaning the upper planetary system and the lower planetary system. Even if I get all these three words, Heto Kimno Mahikrute, in exchange of these people, forget just the earth. In exchange of these people, if I were to get these three worlds, Nihatya Dharta Rashtrana, I do not wish to take these three words, exchanging my relatives. I mean, at the cost of the life of my relatives, even if I get to get the three words, I do not want it. And then he finally says, Nihatya Dharta Rashtrana, if we have to kill the sons of Dhritarashtra, what pleasure will I get? And purposely he uses the word Janardhan, and we will see why he's saying that. Okay. So Arjun is conveying that these material possessions are subordinate to the people. People meaning his relatives. See, they may not necessarily be valuable by themselves, but when compared to the people, he would prefer to have good relationship and have the people alive, even if that means at the expense of the kingdom. He has to, meaning if he has to sacrifice the kingdom for the life of his relatives, he is ready to do that. Okay. So when a child scores, let's say your son has scored, he's topped the whole of UAE in the board exams, and the first thing that he will want to do is show the results and tell and inform this to you, being his parent, right? Let's say he a person is in the middle of a sea, and that is when he comes to know that he has scored the highest marks and topped the university. But because he is alone over there in the middle of the sea, he cannot share this news with anybody. So how will he feel? That is the feeling Arjun is getting now. He is saying that even if I get the kingdom, but if there is nobody, no single relative is left, whom will I share the good news with? Whom will I share the kingdom with? Whom will I share the enjoyments that are generated out of the kingdom if the people themselves are not there? So in this verse, Krishna also calls Arjuna as Govinda, and he uses the word incorrectly. Right? So Govinda meaning what? Go has two meanings. Go meaning cow, and go meaning senses also.
Senses.
Yeah, correct. And Vinda meaning pleasure. So Govinda meaning one who gives pleasure to the cows, and also one who gives pleasure to the senses. Okay. So now Arjun is indirectly telling Krishna that you are Govinda, you are somebody who gives pleasure. How can you recommend a course of action for me, which is to fight in the war and kill my relatives, which is going to cause great grief and misery and troubles to everybody? How can you be Govinda in that case? So he is highlighting the contrast between the meaning of the name of Krishna and his actions. So although Bhagavad Gita so far has not mentioned a single verse where Krishna, Prabhu आप mute पे जाएंगे?
Yes, Prabhu. Sorry.
So Bhagavad Gita has not mentioned a single verse, neither by Krishna, nor by Arjun, nor by Dhritarashtra, nor by Sanjay, that Krishna has asked Arjun to fight. But Arjun knows the intention of Krishna, because Krishna has said now there is no alternative to war. War is like, unavoidable now prior to the start of the war. So Krishna intentions very well understood by Arjun. He is saying now you are recommending an action, a course of action, which is far contrasting with the meaning of your name. That is, you give pleasure, but here actually the action requires me to uh, perform something which is going to cause miseries to everybody. Now let's look at one or two more names that he has used. He uses the word Janardhan for Krishna again. So Janardhan meaning a maintainer of living entities, right? So somebody who maintains someone else, how can that first person kill the other person or cause that other person to be killed? Now all of these are refuted by Krishna when he speaks in the second chapter. Yeah, so it is very important to understand what does Janardhan mean. And in one of the verses, Krishna, I think in verse number 19, he says, Ya enam veti hantaram. He says, the person who understands the difference between soul and the body, how can that person kill somebody or cause somebody to be killed? That is his refutation of the word Janardhan there. So Janardhan is maintainer of living entities, but Krishna, according to Arjun, is asking him to kill the people. Now he also uses the word Madhusudan. What is Madhusudan mean? Madhu is the name of a demon, and Krishna had killed that demon. And Sudan meaning the killing of something. So Madhusudan meaning the killer of the Madhu demon. So Arjun now uses the word purposely, the name here purposely, because he expects Krishna to kill the demon of misunderstanding that Arjuna has developed, which has overtaken him in the current situation. Because if Arjun does not fight, then Pandavas will lose the war and they may all get killed also. If Arjun fights, then he will have to kill others, which he doesn't want to do. Kare to kya kare? That is the situation. Now there is one point here. Arjun says, "Yesham arthe kangshitam no." Okay, what does it mean? Meaning, for the sake of whom shall we remain alive or shall we perform some action? Okay. Now, why this is important to understand? Okay. Whatever actions we perform, okay, we perform them for somebody's pleasure. Either it could be our pleasure or the people who are related to us, it is for their pleasure. Now, a devotee performs actions for the pleasure of his Guru and Shri Krishna. So, when we work with the material desire and we perform actions for the people who are materially related to us, our actions will always be material. Okay, it will never serve the spiritual purpose. But when we perform actions for the sake of Krishna, for the pleasure of Krishna, then the actions will be spiritual, and these actions will help us come out of this material world. So that's why it is very important to understand, why am I performing certain action. It's always important to ask this question to yourself: is it necessary? Am I doing it for my body? Am I doing it for my soul? Am I doing it for Krishna? Whom am I doing it for? And then consciously, with a proper intelligence, take a decision on whether you should do it or not. Hare Krishna. So there are certain technical stuff which you can ignore, that Sanjay also had described the certain relatives in previous verses from verse number 24 till 27. And here Arjun is also talking about certain relations. Yeah. There is a minor difference between some of the relations that Sanjay has spoken, but Arjun has not spoken, but it carries no relevance to the meaning of Bhagavad Gita. So I'm not going into that depth. So, with this, we conclude verse now until verse number 35. If there is any question, let me know.
Prabhu, while going, can we start remembering the important shlokas,
Yes,
whichever
Prabhu.
which, so
Yes,
that
Prabhu.
we keep a log and start remembering
Yes,
and
yes.
collecting ourselves, Prabhu.
Yes, very valid point. Thank you so much. Let me share one PDF file which contains the important verses of Bhagavad Gita. And every time we come across while studying, if there is a verse in that PDF file, then we should try and memorize that verse also.
Yes, Prabhu.
Thank you. So last time Garima Mataji had requested that we do some deliberation, some discussion around what is the takeaway of the verses. So what do you think? What have you learned today? You want to speak, Mataji? Okay. Prabhu, Mangal Mataji, do you want to mention what did you learn today?
Yes, Prabhuji. What we learned today is Arjuna is trying to give all the excuses why he don't want to fight. Because when he was in front of his relatives, brothers, father-in-laws, mother-in-laws, so he was saying, first of all, he was trembling and his lips were drying, his gandhi was falling. Eventually, he didn't see any good in this whole. Even he get the kingdom, but what is the use of this kingdom by killing his own relatives? So the ये जो दुविधा he has, I think his situation is far uh, bigger than any of us can have in our life, right? And that is a very difficult situation to handle.
Correct.
And,
Yes, definitely.
we never come across such situations in life, I'm sure, but Arjuna's situation is definitely unique and very difficult to understand. So he is seeking for guidance on this situation, how to
Yeah,
manage this situation.
correct.
And he knows it. He is the key for this whole war, right?
Yeah,
He is the key warrior of this. So that is, I think, is the takeaway from
yeah.
this
Nice.
situation.
Very nice point. Mangal Mataji, any point you would like to add?
No, he had already explained.
Okay, fine. So great. Thank you for joining. Let's meet up next week.
Sure.
Prabhuji, Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
So one good point, Dhanishta, my wife, added just now, saying that one should have a compassionate nature definitely in his life, and this happens depending on the way we behave with other people, other living entities, and similar actions. But that compassion has to be at the level of soul also. It cannot be just at the level of body. It is very good to have that at the level of body, but it should be there at the level of the soul also. So we will elaborate on this as we go forward, especially when we reach verse number 37 in the second chapter. We will look at Janma, Mrityu, Punarjanma, uh, soul, body, earth, heaven, hell, all these factors we will look at. Pap, Punya, we will look at, and we will elaborate on that further.
Yeah.
Okay.
Prabhuji, a question here. Sorry to
Ah,
just to hang you for one more minute.
yeah, yeah.
Yesterday, Surbhi's mother, her kidneys are in very bad shape. So the creatinine level was found very high, and she was admitted to hospital for dialysis. So today dialysis was done, and we don't know how to react to the situation. What we can do in this situation. She is going through this suffering just yesterday only it happened. All kind of treatment was done earlier, but I think there was no relief. Now, eventually, I think the kidneys are not functioning properly. It required artificially to do the dialysis. So we were just talking to father-in-law, and they were sitting in hospital whole day. Now, just night she will be there. So we were just confused. What we can, how to react in this situation, bro. Although we know, sometimes we know this is what body is there for suffering, right?
Correct.
But we are like a human being. We are worried how to react in this situation, bro.
So it's very difficult to answer such questions. Meaning, होता क्या है कि when we study Bhagavad Gita, we we
Hmm.
we learn the ideal behavior,
Yeah.
but we also understand that we have not reached the level of Raghunath Das Goswami and Sanatan Goswami and those people, right? So to be able to
Hmm.
behave at that level is very difficult considering our current level.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we should keep an aim of the teachings of Bhagavad Gita and try to conduct ourselves practically. So meaning जब मेरी माँ ऐसे ही हॉस्पिटल में थी,
Hmm.
तो अपने हाथ में जो है, to be able to take care and put them in the best hospital under the best doctor and pray for them physically as well as their spiritual growth also. And for my mother, I was praying for her to get a better destination also. तो मैंने उसके मैंने ड्यूरिंग हर लास्ट फ्यू आवर्स मैंने पूरी भगवत गीता भी चैंट की थी उसके लिए। तो तुलसी उसके मुंह में रखी थी, गंगा जल रखा था, प्रभुपाद का मंत्र चल रहा था, कृष्णा का फोटो उसके इस पे था वगैरह। बट दोज वेर
Yes.
at the meaning last times. But
Right. Right.
this may not be applicable now, but then we can still do these activities and help them grow spiritually by Krishna's mercy and because of meaning being parents of devotees like you and Mataji, if at all, it helps her remember Krishna at the time, at the last moment, it is only going to help. That last moment can come 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whenever it has to come later. But these all these actions that you are doing is only going to help her be able to remember Krishna. तो बेसिकली यही हमारे हाथ में यही है और हम लोग और कुछ कर ही नहीं सकते। प्रैक्टिकली स्पीकिंग वी कैन इवन जस्ट प्रे टू कृष्णा that she
Yeah.
suffers less and less in the current body. So
Yeah. Yeah.
these are something meaning it's not so simple to say क्या सही है और क्या गलत है, but it's a very difficult situation. So I may not be the right person to give maybe sorry for this. So
No, no, Prabhuji, धन्यवाद. It is you have shared from your own experience as well as and your perspective. I think this is what it is, Prabhu. There is
yeah,
very limit we can do. We
yeah,
can put into in the hands of doctors, right? And then
yeah,
we can
exactly,
pray.
exactly.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
Okay, Prabhu, thank you so much. Hare Krishna. See you next
Thank
week.
you.
Mangal Mataji, please come regularly. It will be good to have you.
Yeah, sure, sure. I was not well last week, so that's why I didn't
Okay.
come. But
Uh,
I would love to continue.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And YouTube pay I have uploaded. You can have you can see that also.
Yeah, sure, sure.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.